Advaita Acharya, also Teta Satashi Shimad. His Divine Grace Abhaya Chaitanya Bhagavat Goswami. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prabhu Say Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidway Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhaktivinoda Gita Shishi Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Sayam Mukunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan Kijai Vrindavanam Kijai Machuradam Kijai Jagadada Sami Kijai Munamai Kijai Shimati Lasi Devi Kijai Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Kijai Go Premananda Hari Go. All glorious is some of the devotees, all glorious is some of the devotees, all glorious is some of the devotees. All glorious to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Shri Bhagavad Gijay, Mahaprabhu Krishna Prasthaya Budale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Gnamani Namaste, Saraswati Devi Gauravati Pachani, Nivasesha Nivadi Paschachate Shatari. It's time for the Chaitanya Bhagavat class. So, actually, I'd like to welcome certain people who joined us online. Bhagavati's online.
Yeah.
And also Shraddhadev Manu from New Orleans. So we have an international crowd here. Many other nice people. So, Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Advaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda.
Okay, we're going to share the screen and continue reading about Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. Here we go. I'm going to set one thing here. And then I'll check the volume because... Alright. Yeah, the volume's pretty high. And it's automatic. Okay. So, Om Gana Timirandasha Gananjana Shilakaya Chakshurun Meditam Yena Tasmai Shigurve Namaha. So we're in the middle of this drama that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is putting on, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually acted as the goddess of fortune, Lakshmi. He acted actually at Durga one time. He acted as Radharani. He acted as Rukmini. So he's going through all these various phases in dramatically experiencing the mood of his shaktis. Really interesting. And as we mentioned yesterday, because there was a question about how to explain this whole thing, that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he actually wants to see himself through the eyes of his shaktis. He wants to enjoy the same way his shaktis are enjoying. And he wants to understand the love that his shaktis have for him. So Sriman Pandit held a lamp before the Lord, and Haridas alerted everyone in the four directions. Remember, Haridas was like the guard with a stick. At that time, Nityananda Haladar suddenly fell unconscious to the ground. What happened to his role as an elderly lady? The origin of Ananta Shesh became overwhelmed with love of Krishna. In other words, he forgot his dramatic performance. As soon as Nityananda fell to the ground, all the Vaishnavas in the four directions began to cry. How wonderful was their weeping out of love for Krishna. Everything took place by the will of Sri Sachidnandana. Some cried loudly as they embraced others around the neck, and some rolled on the ground as they held others' feet. Then the Lord took the deity of Gopinath on his lap and sat on the throne in the mood of Mahalakshmi. As everyone stood with folded hands before the Lord, Sri Gaurahari told them, "Offer prayers to me." Everyone understood that the Lord was absorbed in the mood of the mother, so they offered appropriate prayers which were heard by the Lord. Some recited prayers to Lakshmi, and some offered prayers to Durga. Everyone offered prayers according to their realization. So Durga is an expansion of Lakshmi in the spiritual world. So there's one Shakti who expands as all these other Shaktis. Of course, the Adi Shakti is Srimati, original Shakti, Srimati Radharani. And as I mentioned yesterday, she expands as the gopis, principal gopis, all the gopis, the queens and the queens in Dwarka, then the Lakshmis, all the Lakshmis, and then ultimately Durga in this world. So everyone offered prayers according to their realization. According to all glories to Mahamaya, the mother of the universe. This is Durga, of course. Please bestow the shade of your lotus feet on the suffering living entities. All glories to the goddess of innumerable universes. You incarnate in every yuga to maintain religious principles. Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara are unable to describe your glories, so how can others reach the limit of your glories? You in the form of the universe, and you are the form of the universe, and you possess all energies. You are faith, compassion, and shame, and you are the personification of devotional service to Vishnu. A little philosophy here in the purport. All branches of knowledge are different forms of you. The Vedas declare you are the energy behind all potencies. You are the mother of all universes. Who can describe your actual form? You are the cause of the three worlds, consisting of the three modes of material nature. We can say that personalities like Brahma do not know you. You are the shelter of everyone, and you are the abode of all living entities. You are the primeval goddess and the changeless supreme consort. You are the mother of the universe. You are without a second. O mother in the form of earth, you maintain all living entities in the form of water. You are the life of all living entities. Remembrance of you destroys all bondage. In the houses of devotees, you are the personification of Lakshmi. And in the houses of non-devotees, you appear in the form of time, the destroyer of all. So in other words, the same personality manifests herself differently according to one's approach. In the same way that Krishna says in the Gita, anyone know that verse? What verse? Yayatamam prajante. Yeah, Vajamyaham mamavart marnavartante manushapartha sarvasha. As you reciprocate with me, I reciprocate with you. Like we see that in Krishna book, it's described that when certain personalities would see Krishna, they see Krishna as personified death. Others would see him as the most beautiful boy. Others would see him as a king. Everybody had his own approach to Krishna according to their own realization. So the same thing with Lakshmi, that those who are non-devotees have Lakshmi manifest as Durga, who actually creates inauspiciousness for them. Anyway, that's another issue. If you arrange for the creation and maintenance of the three worlds, if one does not worship you, he suffers the threefold miseries. You are the ever-manifested faith of the Vaishnavas. O Mother, please protect us by giving us the shade of your lotus feet. The entire world is bewildered by your illusory energy. O Mother, if you do not protect us, then who will win? You manifest for the deliverance of everyone. O Mother, please accept the suffering living entities as your servants. You are worshipped by great personalities like Brahma. You are the intelligence of all living entities. By remembering you, one's chanting of mantras becomes purified. So here we're also making reference to Gayatri too, which is also the expansion and expansion. So really we're just like going from mixing, different expansions of Lakshmi here in these different verses. As Mahaprabhu attentively listened to all the devotees, so offer praise in this way, he became inclined to offer them benedictions. The devotees repeatedly offered obeisances and prayers by reciting selected verses. O Mother, we all take shelter at your lotus feet. Please glance mercifully on us so that our minds remain fixed at your lotus feet. As everyone offered prayers to the Lord in this way, they cried with their arms raised. The chaste ladies inside the room and the house of Chandrasekhara became filled with ecstasy. As they all forgot themselves in ecstasy, the night came to an end. In ecstasy, they did not notice that the night had ended and the bright sun had already risen. As the night ended, the dance stopped. This pierced the hearts of everyone like a sharp arrow. Struck with wonder, they all looked around and loudly cried out, "The night has come to an end!" The distress that the devotees felt could not be compared to that experience on losing millions of sons. Wow. The devotees looked at the sun with such unhappiness that it would have burned to ashes if it was not protected by the mercy of the Lord. Why did the sun come up? Lord Chandra did that to increase the devotees' attachment through their great lamentation on seeing the completion of the pastime. As the devotees cried in great lamentation, and the chaste ladies cried as they fell to the ground. All the energies of Narayani, the mother of the universe, have appeared as the wives of the Vaishnavas. All the chaste ladies cried among themselves and grabbed the feet of Mother Sachi. The sound of crying in devotion to Vishnu arose in the four directions. The house of Chandrasekhara became filled with ecstatic love. Those Vaishnavas who birth after birth know the characteristics of Krishna spontaneously cry for him. Someone said, "O night, why have you come to an end? O Krishna, why have you deprived us of such happiness?" Hare Krishna. On seeing the Vaishnavas in all directions crying, Sri Sachinandana became compassionate. The Lord felt the same affectionate attachment for the devotees that a mother feels for her child. He then gave everyone the same feelings that a child has for his mother. Now gets a little heavy here. In the mood of a mother, Vishwambar affectionately breastfed everyone. Yes. The Lord personally manifests as the mother of the universe in the form of Kamala, Parvati, Daya, and Maha-Narayani. So you have like Durga there, Parvati, and also Lakshmi, all these different. According to the devotee's mood of devotion, Lakshmi manifests herself in different ways. The Lord confirmed his statement in the Bhagavad Gita, I am the father and grandfather. I am the support and the mother. That's what the Bhagavad Gita says. Here's the verse. I am the father of this universe, the mother, the support, and the grandsire. Pitaham asya jagato mata data pitamaha. So you should always remember that. Krishna's everything. He's your mother, he's your father, your grandfather, everything to you. Of course, still you should respect your physical parents. I remember in the early days of the movement, it was very fanatic preaching. People would say, well, I have to go home and see your mother. I'd say, no. She's not your mother. That's not your father. That's just an illusion. So that was kind of heartless. All those Vaishnavas who had been most fortunate for millions of lifetimes now blissfully drank milk from the Lord's breast. So in other words, he manifested the physical attributes of a lady. I mean, otherwise it wouldn't have happened like that. By drinking the Lord's breast milk, the feelings of separation were mitigated, and they became greatly maddened by the mellows of ecstatic love. Although the Vedas describe the Lord's appearance and disappearance, there is actually no end to his pastimes. Lord Vishwambar, the King of Kings, performed such pastimes in Nadia. All gross and subtle elements in the entire universe are manifestations of Lord Chaitanya that later appear separate. That's a Chincha Beta Beta Tattva again. Out of his own sweet will, he creates and annihilates. He creates innumerable universes as one of his pastimes. He is the Lord of Lords and supremely independent. He appears in whatever form he desires. Who is there who will disobey him? Nevertheless, all of his forms are the supreme truth. He manifests such glorious forms in order to deliver the living entities. Without understanding this fact, some sinful persons ruin themselves by calling the Lord a gopi. In other words, they didn't understand Lord Chaitanya was and is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They just said, well, he's one of the gopis who appear. We find this philosophy sometimes. By hearing about the Lord's wonderful dance as a gopi, which is the treasure of the four Vedas, one attains devotional service to Krishna. In that pastime, Nityananda Prabhu played the role of an elderly lady, while Gaurachandra took the form of goddess Lakshmi. Whenever Gaurachandra enjoys pastimes in a particular form, Nityananda assumes a form suitable for those pastimes. The Lord became a gopi, and Nityananda became an elderly lady. Who can understand this other than one who has realization of it? Only one who is favored by Krishna can understand this in truth. Less fortunate persons cannot recognize Nityananda. Someone may consider Nityananda a yogi, someone may consider him a devotee, and someone may consider him a jnani. They may say whatever they like. Even if Nityananda is a most insignificant servant of Lord Chaitanya, I would still keep his lotus feet in my heart. Therefore, I kick the head of any sinful person who disregards the glories of Lord Nityananda and dares to criticize him. The topics of the Bhajakanda, wherein Lord Narayan's dance in the form of Lakshmi are narrated, are just like a shower of nectar. The Lord danced in the mood of a mother and taught devotional service. He then fulfilled everyone's desire by feeding them breast milk. There was a wonderful effulgence manifest for 7 days at the house of Sri Acharya Ratna. It appeared that the moon, sun, and lightning were simultaneously illuminating the house. Fortunate persons were greatly pleased to see this. Those who came to Acharya Ratna's house were unable to open their eyes. People inquired, why do our eyes become blinded when we open them in Acharya's house? On hearing this, the Vaishnavas became jubilant at heart, but they did not offer an explanation. Lord Chaitanya's potencies are most wonderful, Yet no one can understand how this is so. In this way, Gaurachandra enjoyed inconceivable pastimes with the devotees in Navadvip. Oh, brothers, hear the descriptions of the activities and places of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes in Madhya-khanda. Excepting Sri Chaitanya and Nityananda Prabhu, as my life and soul, I, Vrindavan Das, sing the glories of their lotus feet. Thus ends the English translation of the Gaudiya Bhasha commentary on Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Madhya-khanda, chapter 18, entitled Mahaprabhu's Dancing as a Gopi. Next chapter. The Lord's pastimes in Advaita's house. All right, skip the chapter summary. All glories to Vishwambar, the Lord of all Vaishnavas. O Lord, please deliver the living entities by giving them your devotional service. In this way, Lord Vishwambar performed pastimes in Navadvip that were not seen by all. In the company of Nityananda and Gadadhar, the Lord enjoyed pastimes in the houses of his devotees. All the devotees were filled with the Lord's ecstasy. They saw the entire world in relationship to Krishna. They were constantly absorbed in love of God and had no external consciousness. They had no engagement other than the performance of Sankirtan. Of all the devotees, Acharya Goswami was most blissful. No one was able to understand his unfathomable characteristics. The glories of Lord Chaitanya's great devotee, Advaita, the Lord of Shantipur, are known by the mercy of Lord Chaitanya to only a few devotees. When Vishwambar regained his external consciousness, he would offer respect to all the Vaishnavas and particularly to Advaita. As a result of this, the Lord of Shantipura was unhappy. His mind rumbled, and his heart felt no relief. This thief constantly harasses me by giving up his superior position and grabbing hold of my feet. The Lord is most powerful, so by force I cannot check him from taking the dust from my feet. The only alternative I have is the power of devotional service, for no one can recognize Vishwambar without devotional service. When I smash his illusion into pieces, then only will my name, Advaita Singha, that means the lion, Advaita, be glorified. This thief has become proud after defeating Brigu, but he doesn't know that I have hundreds of disciples like Brigu. This is like transcendental pride. So, I will make the Lord so angry that he will punish me by his own hand. It's an amazing story. Although the Lord is incarnated to preach devotional service, I will not show any respect to such devotional service. That is my resolution. In other words, I'll act as a non-devotee. So he gets angry with me. If I do not accept devotional service, then my Lord will forget himself out of anger and punish me by pulling my hair. After contemplating this way, Advaita Prabhu happily departed with Haridas. He came home on the pretext of some work, that is, he went to Shantipur, and contemplated his resolution. Intoxicated with ecstasy, he constantly swayed back and forth as he glorified jnana, speculation, while commenting on the book named Yoga Vashishta. It's a Mayavadi book, like a non-devotional Mayavadi book. Without... Uh-oh. Hope I didn't give anyone anything. Without jnana, what power does devotional service to Vishnu have? Therefore, jnana has all potency and is the life of all. Of course, we know many verses state that Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janaiti Asu Vairagyam Jnanam Chaya Haitakam. By devotional service, you get jnana. And also, Rava Bhaktasya Kato Mahadguna Mano Retaina Sita Davato Bahi. That if one's not a devotee, then even their jnana is not a good quality. They have no good qualities. That's an interesting verse. Sometimes people ask me that it says that someone who's not a devotee has no good qualities. What does that mean? Yeah, I just met my mother and she's so sweet to me. How can you say she has no good qualities? Well, she's manifesting some good qualities, no doubt. And she's acting kindly, no doubt. But because she, and I don't want to offend anyone's mother who's not a devotee, but she is actually under the modes of nature, and the modes of nature are constantly in flux. Sometimes the mode of ignorance is prominent, defeating goodness and passion, and you get the idea. And so it's changing all the time. So right now I may appear to be manifesting so many good qualities, but then someone may say something to me and I'll just punch them in the face. So it's not a stable quality because it's coming from the modes of nature. Whereas the devotee's good qualities are coming from devotion. It's stable. They're nishta. They're fixed. So that's actually a very important point. So anyway, so he's criticizing devotional service or minimizing devotional service here and maximizing jnana. One who does not understand such jnana is comparable to a person who leaves his wealth at home and then searches for it in the forest. Of course, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was of a different opinion when he came across that illiterate Brahmin who could not even read, but he was going through the whole Bhagavad Gita of the order of his spiritual master, and he had the realization of who Krishna was and who Arjuna was and the relationship between the two. Lord Chaitanya said that he was a real knower of the Bhagavad Gita, even though he didn't have, externally any jnana. Devotional service to Vishnu is like a mirror, while jnana is like the eyes. Oh my God. What is the use of a mirror if one has no eyes? Oh my God. This is blasphemous, isn't it? I've studied all the scriptures from the beginning to end and come to the conclusion that jnana is the essence of everything. Haridas knew well the characteristics of Advaita. Therefore, on hearing this explanation, he laughed loudly. Such are the unfathomable characteristics of Advaita. Prabhu. They are auspicious for the devotees and impediments for the miscreants. Lord Vishwambara is like a desire tree that fulfills everyone's desires. Therefore, he understood Advaita's resolution. One day the Lord was joyfully wandering about the city looking at his creation with Nityananda. Brahma considered himself fortunate. The Lord is mercifully looking at my artistic work. It appeared that 2 moons were wandering about, and everyone appreciated their presence according to their surrender. All the demigods watched from outer space. On seeing the 2 moons, not during class. I'll be crying and you're all going to think I'm in ecstasy. It won't be ecstasy, it'll be chilies. In the old days, when we would take the dal, when Prabhupada would cook, and we'd take dal, and then we'd be crying after taking the dal. Well, yeah, could use these the chilies, and he'd fry the chilies in ghee until they were black, and then he would throw them in so that they were even more spicy than normal. I mean, it really cleared your throat out. All the demigods watched from outer space. On seeing the 2 moons, various thoughts went through their minds. On seeing the presence of the moon-like lords, they considered their planets to be the earth, and heaven, and earth to be heaven. In other words, they thought earth was like heaven because Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was there, and that their planets were just like middle planets instead of higher planets. By the influence of the moon-like lords, they considered themselves to be human beings and human beings to be demigods. And seeing the 2 moons together, they thought, we have never seen 2 moons together in heaven. One of the demigods said, listen to my words. One is the original moon and the other is a reflection. Another demigod said, I think that out of our good fortune, Lord Narayan has provided us with 2 moons. Someone said, the Father and Son are one. I think one is Mercury, the son of the moon. It was not at all wonderful that demigods were bewildered by the Lord's form, which even the Vedas cannot ascertain. In this way, Nityananda and the son of Jagannath Mishra wandered about the city. Addressing Nityananda, Vishwambara said, "Let us go to Advaita's house in Shantipur." The two joyful, most restless lords then set out in the path to Advaita Acharya's house. Halfway down the road near Muluka is a village named Lalitapura, which is situated near the Ganges. This is a very funny story. In that village lived a householder sannyasi. His house was on the side of the road near the Ganges. The Lord asked Nityananda, "Do you know whose ashram this is, and who stays here?" Nityananda replied, "O Lord, this is the house of a sannyasi." The Lord then said, "If we are fortunate, we can meet him." The two Prabhus smiled as they went to the sannyasi's house. Vishwambara thereupon offered obeisances to the sannyasi. The sannyasi, he was a tantric, actually. Tantric, and his wife was there and everything like that. Sometimes you find the tantrics, they're sannyasis and married at the same time. On seeing Vishwambara's most enchanting form, beautiful limbs, and smiling face, the sannyasi in great satisfaction offered him various benedictions. "May you achieve wealth, family, good wife, and learning." The Lord said, "O Goswami, this is not a benediction. Rather, you should say, 'May you attain the mercy of Krishna.'" So that's the benedictions that people come to me for. Wealth, wife, good fortune. Nobody says, no, they do say, "Let me be Krishna conscious." The benediction of devotional service to Vishnu is inexhaustible and indestructible. Whatever you have said, O Goswami, does not benefit you. The sannyasi smiled and said, "I have now directly experienced what I have previously heard about. If good advice is given, people will chase you with the stick. The behavior of the son of a Brahmin is just like that. I happily awarded him the benediction of wealth, and what to speak of appreciating it? He found fault in me." The sannyasi said, "Listen, O son of a Brahmin, why do you criticize my benediction? If one who has taken birth in this world does not engage in sense gratification, does not enjoy beautiful women, and does not accumulate wealth, then what is the use of his life? And you are embarrassed to accept the benediction of such wealth. Tell me, even if you have devotion to Vishnu, what will you eat if you do not have wealth?" On hearing the words of the sannyasi, the Lord smiled and raised his hand to his forehead. It's like, oh my God. By this action, Mahaprabhu taught everyone not to aspire for anything other than devotional service. "Listen, O Sannyasi Goswami, we will all certainly eat whatever is destined by our karma. If wealth and family are the aim of life, then tell me, why are they taken away at the time of death? No one wants fever. Why then does fever appear and afflict one's body? Listen, Goswami, the cause of this is karma. What great personality knows this in truth? Some people claim that the Vedas indicate the heavenly planets are the goal of life. But such teachings are simply the compassion of the Vedas on the foolish. Okay. People take great pleasure in material happiness, and the Vedas offer directions according to their mentality. What is the fault of the Vedas? The reason the Vedas do that is because at least they're accepting a superior personality while they're praying for stuff like that. So it's one step. It's better to worship Krishna for wealth than think that there is no God and think you can acquire wealth by your own endeavors. The Vedas declare by taking bath in the Ganges and chanting the name of Hari, one will achieve wealth and children, and people therefore engage in such activities. Like you see when you go to the holy places, you go to these sacred trees and there's all this stuff wrapped around the trees, these ribbons and, little things. Oh my God. If one somehow or other takes bath in the Ganges and chants the name of Hari, Then, by the influence of those activities, one will easily achieve devotional service. Foolish persons do not understand this intention of the Vedas, so they give up devotional service to Krishna and engage in sense grad. O Goswami, try to understand what is good and what is bad. There is no benediction other than devotional service to Krishna. While instructing the sannyasi, the Supreme Lord and spiritual master of everyone taught devotional service through Vedic evidence. Whatever Lord Chaitanya speaks is the absolute truth. Sinful living entities who blaspheme others do not accept his words. On hearing the Lord's words, the sannyasi smiled and thought, I can understand that this brahmana has become crazy because of misguidance. It appears that this sannyasi, Lord Nityananda, has spoiled this brahmana's boy's mind and is taking him away somewhere. The sannyasi said, the time has come when I appear ignorant before a child. And, he's sarcastic, like that. I'm very intelligent. I have traveled throughout the world to Ayodhya, Mathura, Haridwar, and Badrikashrama. I have been to all the holy places like Gujarat, Kashi, Gaya, Vijayanagara, and Sri Lanka. Yet I could not understand what is good and what is bad. He's speaking sarcastically. He does understand, but he's thinking, this guy doesn't understand. Now this child who was drinking his mother's milk, like as a kid, is teaching me? Nityananda smiled and said, listen, Goswami, there's no need to argue with a child. I know very well your glories. For my sake, forgive all of his offenses. When the sannyasi heard glorification of himself, he became pleased and immediately invited them for lunch. Nityananda said, we have to leave immediately for some important work. You may give us something that we can eat on the way after taking bath. The sannyasi said, take bath here, eat something, feel refreshed, and then go. The two Prabhus incarnated to deliver the sinful entities, living entities, so they agreed to remain in the sannyasi's house. After getting relief from their journey by taking bath in the Ganges, the two Prabhus sat down to eat some fruit. First they offered items like milk, mangoes, and jackfruit to Lord Krishna, and then they sat down to eat before the sannyasi. The sinful sannyasi drank wine. Making some signs to Nityananda, he spoke as follows. This is what we talked about, the Panchamakara, remember? Mm-hmm. Wine, meat, fish, sex. And of course we also talked about mudras too. Mm. It's very disgusting. I'm not going to read the whole thing. And these are Vedic literatures too. Listen, Shripad, shall I bring you some Ananda, which means bliss? Where else can I find guests like you? Since Nityananda had visited various places, he can understand that this person was a drunkard sannyasi. The sannyasi repeatedly asked, shall I bring some Ananda? Lord Chaitanya didn't know what he was talking about. Nityananda replied, we should go now. On seeing the Cupid-like beauty of the two lords, the sannyasi's wife watched them with full concentration. She told her husband, why are you disturbing their meal? The Lord said, what is this Ananda the sannyasi is talking about? Nityananda replied, I think he's talking about wine. Vishwambara remembered Lord Vishnu. He washed his hands and immediately left. After jumping into the Ganges, because he got purified to purify themselves, the two restless lords went to the house of Advaita Acharya by floating in the waters of the Ganges. In other words, they swam the rest of the way. The Lord bestowed mercy on womanizers and drunkards, but he annihilates blasphemers, even if they are well versed in Vedanta. So, a few more minutes. Although the sannyasi drank wine and intimately associated with women, the Lord visited his house because he wasn't an offender. In the course of their conversation, the Lord taught him religious principles. He took rest in his house and ate there. Even if the sannyasi could not attain perfection in this life, he would in the next. But the blasphemers will never achieve perfection. That is why non-devotee sannyasis cannot see the Lord. The sannyasis of Kashi are evidence of this. As described in the Anchakanda, when the Lord went to Kashi, all the sannyasis there heard about his arrival. Those sannyasis became happy to hear about the arrival of that great personality and thought, we will see Chaitanya. They were all conversant with Vedanta and practiced in austerities. They had lived their entire lives in Kashi and were greatly renowned. Yet all their good qualities were nullified by one fault. They taught Vedanta, but did not explain devotional service to Vishnu. The lion-like Gora, the super soul of all, knows everything. Although he went to Kashi, he did not give darshan to those sannyasis. While in Varanasi, he hid in Ramachandra Puri's ashram, where he stayed for 2 months. 2 days before the observance of Vishvarup Kshora, the Lord departed secretly so that he would not be seen by others. Later, the sannyasis heard that Lord Chaitanya had left, so they would not be able to see him. All their intelligence was stolen away simply because of their indulgence in the sin of blasphemy. Yet even after his departure, they did not feel remorse. They said, we all have a common lineage, so why did he leave without speaking to us? Why did he forsake his religious duties by leaving 2 days before Vishvarupa Kshora? If one is devoid of devotional service, this type of mentality develops. Lord Shiva never accepts the worship of a blasphemer. Those who blaspheme others in Kashi are punished by Lord Shiva, and those who offend Shiva cannot become devotees of Vishnu. Lord Gaurasundar will deliver everyone except the sinful people who blaspheme Vaishnavas. He took bath and ate in the house of a drunkard, but the blasphemous Vedantas could not get his darshan. A living entity who does not fear Lord Chaitanya's punishment is punished by Yamaraj, birth after birth. The acceptance of sannyas in the study of Vedanta of one who has no attachment for the glorification of Sri Gaurachandra, who is constantly praised by Brahma, Shiva, Ananta, and Kamala, the mother of all, is useless. In this way, the two lords blissfully floated in the waves of the Ganges. Vishwambara Mahaprabhu roared loudly and repeatedly exclaimed, I am he, I am he. Nada disturbed my sleep and brought me here, and now he is covering the glories of devotional service by preaching jnana. See yourself how I punish him today. Today we will see how he defends the process of jnana. As Mahaprabhu threatened and roared while floating in the current of the Ganges, Nityananda remained silent and smiled to himself. The two lords floated in the waters of the Ganges like Mukunda and Ananta in the ocean of milk. By the influence of his devotional service, Advaita Prabhu was most powerful, and he understood that his desire to be punished by the Lord would soon be fulfilled. Advaita Prabhu realized that the Lord was coming in an angry mood, and he began to explain jnana more enthusiastically. Who can understand the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya's devotees? In this way, the two lords floated down the Ganges to Advaita's house. So, maybe we're going to talk about the fight tomorrow. And then we can take questions. Let me stop sharing. So, does anyone have any questions in person here? Questions about anything we read today? Philosophical points or anything? No? All right, let's ask people online. Yeah.
Like it's mentioned that if somebody is fortunate, they can see these pastimes, or like yesterday, that if somebody is fortunate, they can become the servant of the Lord. So what makes one fortunate and unfortunate? So,
the association of devotees and not committing offenses against devotees. Those are the two things. Prabhupada said, I have created, referring to himself, not me, he said, I have created your good fortune, and you should go out and create others' good fortune.
so
That's
when
really-
somebody gets devotee association, does that depend on the sukriti they have? Or?
That depends on whether they're offensive or not. It also depends on the devotees, not necessarily on their sukriti. It may depend on the devotee's compassion. You know, a devotee, like Krishna, he doesn't interfere with the living entity's free will. And the devotee, he tries to interfere with the living entity's free will. Of course, you can't change the living entity's free will. But he just like does all sorts of tricks to get people to take up devotional service. So, you know, devotee is more merciful than the Lord. So, by the Lord's mercy, like Prabhupada's mercy.
Can we say that if somebody gets devotee association, that can also be by chance?
No, nothing happens by chance. It's all Krishna's arrangement. We say that by the mercy of Krishna, one gets Guru, and by the mercy of Guru, one gets Krishna. So somehow or the Krishna in the heart puts one in the right. I mean, just like in my own story, which I've told millions of times, you know, I happened to turn on the radio at the right time. I mean, who could have predicted that? It's not by chance, you know, that somehow or other I rolled the dice of chance, and I turned, you know, dice. You know what dice are? Okay, gambling. That I just, you know, just happened to be in a certain mood to turn on the radio. It was late at night. I think it was about 11 o'clock at night. And I wasn't getting up for Mangalarti the next morning. and I looked like Robin. Yeah, like this character that Krishna Chandra is showing every day, the picture of, don't show. Yeah, here's this bearded, like, disgusting guy. And I wasn't intoxicated. I did not do that. I did not do that. Did not drink. Believe me. The only time I took a sip of wine was at a religious ceremony where I had to do it. At 13 years of age, there's like a ceremony where you have to take a little wine. That was it. I hated it. Anyway, so, you know, it was at night. Turn on the radio. Yeah, turn the dial, you know, to some frequency. All of a sudden, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. I go, oh, Bhakti Lata Bish. I didn't realize what it was. And then all my material desires is, oh, I don't want anything else. No dhanam, no janam, no sundarim, kavitam va, jagadisha kamaye, mama janma. No, it wasn't that intense, but I sort of lost interest in everything else. I became apathetic to everything else other than Krishna consciousness. Anyway, so that wasn't by chance. I was ready. And I'll tell you, I was ready because I was praying to God. I didn't know anything about God before. I was actually praying intensely to God, please let me know you, let me serve you. That was my mantra. And then all of a sudden, Hare Krishna, like that. So you hear these stories from, a lot of devotees will tell stories like that. So, somehow or other, it wasn't chance, I was ready.
So it depends on how ready you are. Like, what makes one ready and not ready? Like,
Bahunam janmanamante ganavamam prabhajate vasudeva sarvamiti sama vasudurlabha. After many, many births, then one's ready to understand Vasudeva, the Krishna is everything. So, yeah, it's multi-lifetime experience that one will be ready and so receptive like that. And also, you know, there's also the point, maybe I was a fallen yogi or something like that. Maybe I was this sannyasi. Maybe I was the tantric there, you know.
so this sannyasi must have, you know.
Oh yeah, he must have done
pious
so many pious
activities.
activities and been sincere.
Yeah.
But he was affectionate toward, see, the devotional service, he was affectionate towards Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He said, you know, as a young boy, I want to give him some good instruction according to his own realization. He wasn't hateful towards Lord Chaitanya. He was just very affectionate, and we have to help him understand the real purpose of life is wealth, women, you know, and all the other nice stuff. So, but he, you know, he definitely was ready for some reason or other, and he got, and sure, I'm sure he went back to Godhead, not necessarily in that lifetime. So, I mean, many of us have had association with, not me, of course. I'm just by Prabhupada's mercy. But anyway, many people have had association with Prabhupada or Krishna in the past. And that's why, you see, some people just like take up Krishna consciousness, they seem to know everything, even before reading the Bhagavad Gita. So there's some indication, that's a real indication, that in the past they were devotees performing devotional service.
So ultimately it comes to Sukriti, that you need to
No, not Sukriti. Survive from some paradama yata bhakti, haitaki pratitai. There's no prerequisite. There's no Sukriti. A lot of the people who Prabhupada, I know there's one guru in the movement, who, and it wasn't me, obviously, who was living naked in a nudist colony when he first met Prabhupada. I can tell you who it was. But, that's not a lot of Sukriti. Maybe there was past Sukriti. But anyway, it was desire. One comes to the point of understanding, simply the understanding, I want to understand the nature of things. Who is God? What is the soul? Because Krishna is in the heart. And he, according to your desire, he will guide you and guide others to you.
So how does the desire come into the living entity?
It comes because the desire has no cause, material cause to it. It comes because one desires. And it may come also because one has been smashed so much that one just says, oh my God, get me the hell out of here. Right? It's like, what's that, the Wizard of Oz? Where Dorothy clicked her. You don't know that? You never saw the Wizard of Oz? No.
It's a movie.
I want to go back to Kansas. You saw that?
Harry Potter?
No. No one ever seen the Wizard of Oz?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was picked up by a tornado and sent to this strange place, and she always wanted to go back home. And she always had the power to go back home, but she didn't know it in these shoes. Am I right? And then she simply had to click them together. Anyway, so we always have the. Anyway, you wouldn't understand this analogy. So we always have the power of going back home just by desiring. Because Krishna sends Guru as soon as we desire that. And then he gives us this mantra, and we chant this mantra, and we go back home, back to Godhead. Yeah.
Gurudev, so does that mean that some people, even after preaching and giving them Krishna Prasad,
Yeah.
and even associating with the gurus and the very bona fide devotees, if they don't desire to become Krishna consciousness,
Nothing you can do. What is that? Matirna Krishna Padato Pato Mido Pitvadyeta Graha Vratanam Gopir Vishatam Tamishram Purnaschar Vitajarvananam. You know the verse?
Yeah, keep doing it.
That's spoken by Prahlad Maharaj. Matirna Krishna. If one doesn't want Krishna, one can have good association. Actually, this advice from others. Matirna Krishna Padato Svatova. Because they've taken a vow just to enjoy this body. And they'll always be engaged in something called Purnachar Vidacharvananam, which means chewing the chewed, or doing the same thing over and over again, until they get frustrated. The whole point of multi-births in this material world is eventually to frustrate you to the point where you say, what's it all about? I remember when I was young, I was like that. I said, what's it all about? What's the purpose of all this? And, my mother, who was my original guru, she said, the purpose is to make her happy. Anyone have a mother say that to them? What? Your father.
Yeah, let us say.
Yeah, mothers would say that. Purpose is to please me. You're my son. I carried you for 9 months. You ever hear that? Yeah. So, or the purpose is to enjoy life. Or the purpose is to reproduce. Right? Prajapati. like Daksha, anyway. So I was hearing all these different purposes. The purpose is to learn and be educated. And it was never making money, was never the purpose when I was young. But anyway, you hear all these purposes, and I thought, what's the use? It's all chewing the chewed. Look at my mother and parents and everybody. They've gone through their whole lives, and they're not happy. I mean, they were settled down. They had enough money and everything. And, big houses and boats and planes and everything. I said, they're not happy. I remember, you're all, whenever you hear of a cruise, all of you get attracted to it, isn't it? I don't. It's PTSD for me. PTSD. Post-traumatic stress disorder. Because we had a boat, we went ocean sailing in the boat, and you think it's so nice being in the boat and everything like that. But it's like anything else. You spend a lot of your time hanging off the side, engaged in purifying yourself. And then you're out there in the ocean, and there's nothing but just waves around. And what do you do, And, you're steering this boat, It's just, I found it excruciatingly boring. But all of you think it's so romantic. We can go for a kirtan trip on a boat. Why not just chant Hare Krishna in your house? Prabhupada also had PTSD from boats.
Entertainment.
Yeah, entertainment. You all have this idea of enjoyment. I mean, just like I know some of the devotees here, when devotees go on vacation, they go to the Gold Coast. Gold Coast, you've heard it? In Australia, they rent some stupid hotel room. And they think it's enjoyment. Of course, I'm not criticizing. I am criticizing.
He didn't miss it.
Both.
But, so the point is that actually one of the reasons that I took up devotional service so quickly is because I didn't see any enjoyment in any of these things. I did them, but it was just like, it was dry. Like going to a desert. So many experiences I had, just like desert. It's torture. My parents tried to get me to enjoy. It's like a desert. All right, we got one question here, and then we have to end here.
I want to ask
Yeah.
a question. I want to know, is it alright if you really, like I live quite far away and sometimes I really want to come to the temple, but I have about 4 or 5 churches around me and I can go and sit there?
That's fine. We can appreciate the devotion in any religion. Yeah, that's true. I mean, we as devotees we should not be sectarian and think ourselves better. We should just think they're worshiping the same God in a different way, different manifestation of the same God. And it's beautiful. I mean, I consider it like that. So I think that's fine. So the point is, one really has to be a kinchana gochara. That's just like disgusted with the material world. If you're not, your advancement is not going to be so quick. I mean, it'll happen eventually, but you have to get to the point of there's no enjoyment in this world. If you think the enjoyment is just around the bend, the next house, the next car, the next, gotta be careful, next jet skis. Just like I saw the jet skis yesterday. And I thought, wow, that's cool. Should I go? I thought, it'll just be miserable. Because there's an illusion that you're on, the jet skis and you go,
It's just adrenaline.
what? Adrenaline.
Adrenaline.
Yeah, adrenaline and endorphins.
That's it.
That's it. And then afterwards you feel like hell. Isn't it? It's like that. I mean, yeah, the adrenaline. I used to go water skiing, not jet skiing before. And there's adrenaline. Isn't this fun? But it lasts for a few seconds in this. Kamalatala jala jivanatala mala. Anyway, one question here I just want to answer, and then we can end. Hare Krishna Gurudev, how do we strengthen our desire to please and serve Krishna when we have other competing material desires? We have to be attached to Krishna's devotees. That's the only way. If we have this personal attachment, love. Like how does a mother give up everything to serve her child? She loves the child. As simple as that. She's not, a really good mother is not thinking, oh, let me do some sense gratification. She's just thinking, let me please this child. She's thinking of the child 24 hours a day. My mother was like that too. Just one other thing. Question. This Leela drama pastime of the Lord is also the potency of Yogamaya, the pleasure and enjoyment of the Lord. That's right. Yeah, comment. Okay. I think that's